I don't think I'll ever feel fully ready to press record or feel fully prepared for what I'm about to talk about today, but it's heavy on my heart, especially this month, because Brian passed away on January 14th of 2021. My name is Cass, and this is the story of how I lost my fiancé to suicide. This is a story I never thought I would tell in this way, but I keep thinking about it, and I feel like my soul is calling me to share this story in video form. I have briefly touched on this topic in the past, and up until now, I have not mentioned anything about my name, but I feel like it's important to say my name when I'm about to share this story that has had so much impact on me and the people around me. So, a little about me. I'm someone who is very creative. I have been from a very young age. I have so many interests. When I got into college, I had no idea what I wanted to do, but I knew I would love doing so many different things. So the hardest thing about college for me was picking a path. I ended up landing on counseling because I had such a strong passion and still do for mental health and breaking the stigma behind mental health. But I struggled in grad school due to my own mental health issues. One of them being the grief and trauma and PTSD, you name it, that was a result of losing my partner while I was in undergrad. It's amazing that I even graduated undergrad and transferred to a graduate program, but I wanted to make meaning of what had happened. And it almost felt if I didn't continue down the path I was already on, that him taking his life would just be a tragedy and it would be just this looming thing over my life forever. And grief is not linear and it will always be a part of me and something I want to talk about and share and connect with people on, because tragedies like this are more common than we like to think or talk about, more common than I was aware of before it had touched my own life. But I ultimately ended up leaving grad school because I couldn't see myself doing one thing for the rest of my life. I don't think I have the personality to stay in one career lifelong. I like to switch things up. And so during the period when I was deciding whether to go back to grad school or leave, I started this channel and I called it AllWaysMeR to remind myself that I can be myself in all ways. And especially in a platform like YouTube, where niches are so strongly recommended because channels see the most success when they are tailored to a specific audience. The videos follow a specific format and the audience knows what to expect each time. But to me, that feels kind of how I felt when I started college. Like I could pick a niche and be successful at it. There's so many different things I could try and would love to do. But I don't want to have 10 different channels. So I decided my niche is not having a niche. There's no rules here. And as long as I'm having fun, even if no one watches, then it's worth it. And so that leads me to where I am right now. I've been gone from YouTube for a bit. When I was here last, I had done gaming content. I had done some podcasting with my mom, which I really, really loved. I've done some cringy mukbang and ASMR stuff. I've kind of just tried to emulate a little bit of everything that I love, that I see other people do. I love to try new things. I love to embarrass myself. I love to be silly and weird. And I love to have fun. But at the core of me, I still care deeply about mental health and connecting with people on that level, breaking the stigma of talking about mental health illness and suicidality. And I already felt that way before Brian had taken his life. But I think this month, now I'm like 5 years out, grief just hit me in a weird way. And I feel like I owe it to myself to tell my story. I owe it to Brian to share his story and make meaning of it and help other people on my side of things if they're struggling with their own suicidal thoughts. There's such a vast way that mental health illness and mental health struggles can impact people. And I want to use my voice. I want to use my platform. I want to use my skills and the knowledge I have from when I was in school studying counseling. I want to use art. I want to use whatever I can, whatever's at my disposal to connect with people on this and share my story. So I met Brian at the beginning of 2018 when I had just turned 18. The way I met him is so weird to talk about. I had just gotten back from vacation with my mom, and my cat had peed on her mattress while we were away. So she needed to buy a new mattress. Brian is one of the guys who delivered the mattress. I remember thinking he was cute when I saw him, but it was nothing more than that. A few hours later that night, I got a message on Facebook Messenger saying like, "Hey, you're cute. I don't remember the specifics. We started flirting and talking, and I was looking at him and I was like, this looks like the mattress delivery guy. So I asked him about it, and he said it was him, and he said he was afraid to just say that straight out because he'd get in trouble from work if they found out. I told him I liked him. I wasn't gonna write a complaint or anything. And then we started dating. And then we made things official. I was engaged a little after a year of knowing him. And that was my longest relationship to date. My first ever engagement. I've since been engaged twice. Neither of them led to being married. I think that's for the best. But there's a lot there too. My perspective at the time of my relationship with Brian is that it was great. It was meant to be. He was my soulmate. We were twin flames, all the things. He was my second serious relationship, and I was freshly 18. My brain was not even fully developed. My brain fully developed last year. So now I can't make excuses for myself, but I'm gonna make excuses for past Cass because she didn't know any better. She was a little baby still, a new adult. Looking back, it was not great. I was just reading some of our messages last night and thinking like, oh, baby girl, I wish I could go hold her hand and tell her like she was not being treated right and to leave much sooner. But that's not how it is a lot of the time when you're in relationships like that. I got love bombed. I didn't see it as a red flag that I got engaged so soon. I saw it as stability and someone who was sure about me and someone who loved me so much that they would make this lifelong commitment and promise to get married. I loved that. As someone who grew up without their dad in their life in the ways that would be ideal, I clung so hard to the idea that someone would meet me and so soon choose me in that way. It felt very secure to me. Now I know that that's not what it was. There are so many things I could get into within that relationship. I think I'm just going to give a brief overview of some of the issues within the relationship because I think it provides important context. I don't know if I'll cut any of this out. I don't know what I'm going to include. I don't even know if I'm going to post this. It does make me uncomfortable, but something is calling me to make this video, even if it's just for myself. Brian was an illegal immigrant. He did not tell me that until 6 months into our relationship. I have no issue with illegal immigrants. I can't understand from my perspective anything about that, but I support it 100%. I don't see anything wrong with it. But would I have wanted to get into a relationship with an illegal immigrant, knowing what can come with that and the heartbreak that could cause alone? No. So right away, I felt like my choice was taken away from me because we had been together for 6 months until he disclosed that information to me. And by then, I was already in love and clung. So I was not going to leave. So I stayed with him. There were some troubles around that with his work and travel and various things that would come up over our time together. Another big issue was one day I looked at his ID and I saw his birthday year did not match the year it would be if he was the age he said he was when we first started talking. When I first started talking to him, he said he was 24 and he asked if age was a problem because I had just turned 18. And I was like, we're both adults and age is just a number. I like you. And so that was that. I still see nothing wrong with that age gap, but when I saw his ID and confronted him about the year, he told me that something had went wrong with his birth certificate when he moved here. And I don't know enough about immigration or the way documents get processed. I don't know enough about any of it. And I was 18. So I took his word for it, because why would he lie to me about something like that? Especially because the year difference was like by like 2 or 3 years or something. I don't think that's a big enough difference to lie about. So that would have made him like maybe 27 instead of 24 when we met. I don't remember exactly. All of this is still a blur to me. But still, red flag. And another big issue we had was me suspecting him of cheating and him actually cheating throughout, I don't know how long or how many times during our relationship. I'm not going to get too much into the instances where I suspected stuff, but I never had solid proof until the night that he took his life. So just to give you some background of where the relationship was at by the time we had reached the night that this all culminated. Communication had been really bad. I rarely saw him. He rarely talked to me. But this particular night, he had come over to spend the night here, literally in this exact room. And I was so happy. I was so happy to see him. I was still making excuses for him. I was still beating myself up because I was being gaslit and called crazy. I was in therapy because I literally thought I was crazy for thinking he was cheating on me, for thinking he was lying to me. that had been drilled so deep into my head that I was literally trying to fix myself, thinking I'm the problem. I wish I could go back and give past me a hug. Like, damn. Or anyone going through any of that. But that night, I don't remember much before it was time to go to sleep. Brian fell asleep, and I think usually when he would charge his phone at night, it would be on his side of the bed. Because usually we'd be sleeping at his place and we had like chargers on each sides of the bed. It makes sense that you'd want to be closer to your phone. I would too. But I feel like usually, even at my place, even though there wasn't a spot for him to charge his phone on his side of the bed, he would keep it by him, which I never liked because I had suspected things and that seemed shady to me. But I remember that night he charged it on my side of the bed. And though that might make me feel better, like, oh, maybe he's not hiding stuff. He's leaving it on my side of the bed, so he knows I could look at it. It didn't make me feel better because sometimes people do that stuff to seem more open when they have something to hide. And it turns out that was the case because your girl was going so insane from that entire relationship that I decided to look through his phone. Now, say what you want about it, but unless you were in my exact shoes, you cannot judge. Your girl was in therapy thinking I'm insane. And after 3 years of being gaslit and many things hidden from me, many things, twisted truths, lies, secrets, just insane stuff, lied to about his age, I just wanted to know. And I figured with the amount of things, I had to find something, unless I actually was crazy. So I was like, let me just look. I looked. Nowadays, unfortunately, it's so easy for a cheater to hide stuff. But I happened to find a text from a number that was not saved in his contacts list. And I don't even remember what it said, but it was from a girl. And all the details are so blurry now because so much happened in such a short amount of time, as you will hear. But it was enough for me to know that he had been cheating on me and I was not crazy. And what followed was such a strong feeling of vindication. I felt so relieved and so justified for everything I had been feeling and saying in the last 3 years of my life, in the first 3 years of my adult life. And I woke him up and I told him to get the fuck out. I told him to get the fuck out. Your girl crashed out a little bit. I threw my ring. I told him to get the fuck out. And he's like, what's happening? You know, fresh out of his sleep at like, I don't know what time it was. Early in the morning, like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. And I showed him his phone and immediately he's in defense mode. What is this? What are you talking about? You know, all confused. So how the tides have turned. I was confused for 3 years. And now that I have solid proof, he acts confused. And the saddest thing about that part of the night is that I loved him so much more than I loved myself in that moment because I had been broken down to such a low point that I would have stayed if he had just been honest. I had my moment of being angry and he had his moment of acting confused. And then ultimately, there was nothing else he could lie about. And there was nothing else for me to be angry about because I knew it all. So then his confusion turned to sadness and my anger turned to comforting him, which is what I do best, unfortunately, sometimes to my own detriment. So I sat and I listened to him trauma dump on me, which at the time felt very manipulative and still could be considered that way. But now, with more of the context of how that night played out, I feel like it was a cry for help and like I was the last person he ever saw that I know of. Maybe even the last person he ever really talked to. So he told me some stuff that he said he never told anybody. I'm not going to share on here because it's not my place. But I immediately went into comfort mode, counselor mode. And I did what I could to calm him down and comfort him given what he had told me and how the night had gone up until that point. And I told him I love him and that the thing that hurt the most was just the lying, the gaslighting. And I told him if he could be honest with me about what had been going on, all that I had just been wanting to know for the whole time our relationship was struggling. I was like, I'm willing to give it a shot and see if we can work through it. No, don't do that. But that's what I had said at the time. And he was like, okay, let me go to the bathroom. This man goes to the bathroom and deletes all the messages and then comes back and he's like, okay, I'm ready to talk about it, whatever you want to know. I'm like, okay, let me see your messages again. And they're gone. And I was like, I know there were more messages than this. And he's like, no, there wasn't. And I was like, dude, I'm done. Like, that was your last chance. Like, and I shouldn't have even given you that. And so thank God he continued to show me that he's not capable of being honest, because maybe I would have stayed, and God only knows how much worse it could have been if I stayed, and then down the line how things might have played out. I don't know. I like to think everything happens for a reason, even when it's messed up. So once my mind was made up, and I feel like the vibe just shifted, he could tell, like, there was literally no tiny part of me that had hope anymore. I was like, it's literally done. He was like, I'm gonna go. And the shift I sensed in him when he said that was scary to me, because in the heat of everything that had gone down thus far that night, he had threatened his life. And I told him not to talk like that. I think I told him it was manipulative to say that when I'm finally ready to leave somebody that's been hurting me. And I'm not going to get into the details. I also don't want to trigger anybody too badly. I have to put a trigger warning at the beginning of this. But he hinted at the method that he would use, and that super scared me. But at the same time, you have to understand that this man has been lying to me for 3 years straight, and I just found proof of that. So I don't know what to believe. And it's often talked about that people will threaten their life to cling on to you. It's like their last little thing of like, stay with me. But I was not going to self-abandon. But I also wasn't going to just kick him out knowing what he had just said. So I told him, you have work in the morning, spend the night. Like, I can be cordial with you. I still love you. You really hurt me. I don't think we're a good match as partners, but it's late. Let's go to sleep. Let's calm down. You can leave in the morning when you have to go to work. And he was like, I'm going to go. And this is a grown man. I tried to hold his arm and not let him walk out the door that night. But ultimately, he left because he was determined to leave. And after he left, honestly, I was relieved. I was sad. I was a little concerned. I was also pissed. So many feelings finding out all that I found out in that night, especially with the trauma dumping that I didn't go into, but it was a lot. So, see, I'm so confused. This was so long ago, but it must have not been too late, because I remember texting my family group chat that I had ended things with him, that he had been cheating on me, brief overview. I also told them that he had threatened his life, and they tried to comfort me, saying, like, this is often just a desperate last attempt to keep you in their life, and, like, he'll be fine. He just needs to calm down. I'm like, yeah, you're right. So I remember getting on a FaceTime with one of my sisters for a while. She was checking in on me, and I was saying everything that happened. And again, there's so much happened in the conversation I had with him, but so much had happened over these years with him when I was being lied to. That's all I could fucking think about. I'm like, let's deal with this night later. Like, look at all this shit I just found out, and like things that were confirmed, and I'm not crazy, and I can tell my counselor, and so much was going on in my mind. And meanwhile, I'm FaceTiming my sister. He's messaging me, and he's messaging me voice memos. I don't know when I listened to the voice memos. I still have them, and I listened to them this month. And so many feelings come up when I listen to them now. They're devastating. He's crying in some of them. He's saying what he's gonna do. But again, in the moment that I was actually sent those, so much was already going on in my brain, and it's not my responsibility to take care of a grown man that just refused to stay here with me. After all that I just found out, this is so messy. I don't even know how to make this make sense. Hopefully it's making sense. I think I got off the FaceTime with my sister after a while of talking to her. I listened to the voice memos, but still, my caring character tried to comfort him and calm him down. I was like, I wish the best for you. I love you. He was saying things like, if you love me, why would you let me do this to myself? And I'm like, I'm not letting you do anything. I tried to keep you here. I tried to calm you down. Like, I told you to sleep here. I didn't want you to go. Like, I love you. I want what's best for you. I did what I could. And I was holding so much already. I did not even owe him that level of kindness. And he sent me the voice memos. And he did call me. And I think I wrote somewhere in my notes app, like, what went down on that call. Because when it was still fresh in my mind after everything had happened the rest of that night, I wrote it down because I didn't want to forget. He had said something along the lines of, like, I acknowledge this is not your fault. I'm sorry for what I did. I love you. And I don't know. So much is a blur. I think again, I don't know what I can say about all of this. I'm going to say it, and I'll cut it out if I find out YouTube doesn't want me saying this. But he shot the gun that he had in his glove box. He had told me he had a gun in his glove box, and he was afraid what he might do with it. He told me that when he was still at the house. And then when we called later that night, he had called me. I'm pretty sure he shot the gun. And he was like, did you hear that? I'm so shocked. I don't know what to say. I don't even know what that was for sure. But I'm just trying to keep things neutral and calm. And I think I just told him no, I didn't hear it. And then I don't know, the call ended shortly after that. But he was just kind of reassuring me that, yes, this is not your fault and I love you and I'm sorry. And then I don't know when the voice memos happened, maybe before or after the phone call. I think he tried to call me again and I didn't answer. I don't remember. But oh man, I'm dissociating thinking about this. Then the tone shifted a little bit because I was still juggling all these emotions. Then I was feeling like, he's lied to me so much before. He's probably saying all this to try to keep me in contact with him when I should really just block him. Like, I don't want to see him again. I don't want to talk to him again. The way I wanted this night to go was get the fuck out. He leaves. We never talk again. Because what the hell? Why am I going to allow you to be in my life when you have treated me so badly for so long? So I sent him a TikTok. I think it was talking about cheaters. And I was getting a little petty in my language. I think I hinted that he was probably with the girl he had been cheating on me with. And like, he traded me for her, a girl that would be okay with that kind of behavior, be okay with being the side chick. And I was just kind of over it. I was just like, dude, whatever, bye. Like, I don't trust you. I have no reason to trust you. I'm over it. So I think from then on out, I was just kind of ignoring his messages and not taking them seriously. And then he sent me a screenshot of something he had texted his uncle to show me that he was serious. And this is when I got worried. I had to translate the message because it was in Spanish. But it was something along the lines of like, I left some money out for you on my dresser or something. And this is when I was like, oh, this is scary. Because Brian was very specific about the things he communicated to his family. There's a lot of stigma around mental health, talking about mental health in general. But I think there's especially a stigma about talking about mental health in Latin culture, Hispanic culture, and texting the uncle that there was money out for no other reason at like 2 a.m. I was like, he would not just do that because he would want to face the repercussions of not taking his life and then having to deal with what the family thinks of the fact that he was considering it. So I think at that point I tried to call him and he didn't answer. And then I got really scared. I don't even know what happened the rest of the night. I know I went and slept with my mom. Also, I believe in the afterlife and I believe in spirits communicating with us. That's my belief. You can believe whatever you want to believe. But after he left that night, I had also packed up a bunch of the gifts he had given me over the years, clothes I had from him, his stuff. I had put it all in a bag and I was ready to bring it to charity the next day because that's how I grieve. That's how I move on from somebody. I don't like seeing anything to do with them usually, especially if it was like traumatic experience like that. It's just one less reminder, So I had all that stuff at the foot of my bed and it had been sitting just fine for hours. And I was just in my bed talking to my family and stuff. But after the last call I got from him and after the last text I got from him, and when I started feeling weird, I don't know if it was before or after I called him, but that bag like toppled over. And I remember having the ickiest, eeriest feeling deep in my gut, like he fucking did it. And maybe that's him like freaking out. Like, I believe when you pass on, I don't know if we're omnipresent like God, where we can be in multiple places at once when we are just a spirit. But if he could only be one place after he passed that night, I do believe he would come here. Because this is like the most emotionally heavy thing that happened right before he passed. And I feel like the bag toppling over after hours of it sitting there just fine, there was nothing to like fall over in it. I felt like that was his spirit coming and showing me he did it. And I think after that happened, I went to my mom's room and I told her I was scared and I told her like what had happened and stuff. And I decided to try and sleep in there that night. She's like, you need to sleep. It's late. I barely slept that night. I was so worried sick. He wasn't answering my calls. He wasn't answering my texts. And I think the only reason I got any sleep is because I put on some meditation music and I kept telling myself, like, he's a grown man. He's responsible for himself. And I did all I could do given the situation. And one more thing that happened when he was here that night, when we were fighting and I was yelling and stuff. I think I was holding on to his phone and he was trying to get it back from me and I was telling him to get off of me and my mom was worried that he was hurting me. So she had come to my door and she was like, get off of her. What are you doing? And he was like, she has my phone. And that was a traumatic moment for me and sad to look back on because there was just so much emotion from all parties involved and this whole thing is so messy. But I woke up the next day early in the morning because I barely slept. And this is all a blur too. I didn't have anything I had to do that day, I don't think. I don't know what day of the week it was, but my school at the time was pretty flexible because of COVID. I think this was during COVID. See, so much is a blur. But I don't know if I got a message or a call from his uncle, but I think the uncle had communicated with me like, hey, what happened last night? Brian sent me this text. He didn't go to work today. Do you know where he might be? And I told him what happened. I told him what he had said. And Brian had sent me a text that he was drinking the wine I had left at his house, so there's some guilt there too, even though I know that's not my fault either. He said he was by the river that comes from the mountains. Very poetic, but ultimately they did find him. And he did do it. I found out when his uncle called me maybe like an hour or two after the initial question about, hey, what happened? And I think he started the call just by saying, hey, again, did he say anything to you about where he was going or what he was going to do? And I said that he threatened to take his life, and his uncle just told me that's exactly what he did. And I was so frozen. I didn't know what to say. I couldn't even cry. I think I literally just told him that. I was like, I don't know what to say. I'm in shock. And I think the uncle said something similar. And I think he just said, I'll talk to you later. Bye. We hung up. I had taken that call at the foot of my bed in my room, I think. And I instantly went to my mom's door. Thank God I live with my mom. I don't know how any of this would have gone if I didn't live at home. And I knocked on her door. I was like, Mom. She's like, yeah, come in. I went in there and I just said he did it. She was like, what? No. And we're both just sitting there in shock. I don't know if we cried or if we were just too in shock to even cry. But it was horrible, to say the least. And also during all of this that morning, the girl he had been cheating on me with had reached out to me. Oh my God, there's so much here. This story is so messy, but I'm glad I'm talking about it. I think she reached out before they had found him, they being the police. The police were like searching for him. But I think she had said that he had messaged her that night too. And I don't remember what he said to her, if that's even true. But she was just saying, hey, I know you guys were together. She claimed to have not known about me when she was with him. Again, I don't know if that's true or not. I have reasons to believe she's a liar too, but this is all I know. And again, me being the kind, ultimately trusting person that I am, or was, I believed her that she had also been in the dark. So I kind of saw her as like a friend, like, oh, we were both like blindsided by the same guy. She's just another girl. Like, let's be buddy buddy, because if he did do what he did, then we can lean on each other. So I had been talking back and forth with her a while that day and trying to figure out where he was and what she knew and what I knew, and, you know, compare notes. And I think after I found out he passed, I messaged her and I was like, hey, did you hear the news? And she was like, no, what? And so I was the one to tell her, from my understanding. And then we were both just saying like, oh my God, I can't believe this. Oh my God, what? No, oh my God, you know. And it was crazy. This whole thing is crazy to look back at. And so much happened after that night, after that morning. I know who my true friends are because they came out of the woodwork. They dropped everything to come support me that day in the ways that they each know best how to. And I really needed that. I really appreciated that. And I will forever remember that. I think that is the hardest day of my life thus far. And they were there for me. Everything is such a blur. But after finding out that he had did it, I was so scared to see his family or talk to them. I was so scared that they would blame me. I was blaming myself. Like, I didn't do enough. I should have called the cops that night. I should have called the family that night. But in my mind, I'm like, if he's lying and I go and reach out to the family or reach out to the cops and I make it a bigger deal than it is, which is just a lie, then I'm going to cause him so much more problems with his family. And I don't know, I already saw that he was hurting. I already saw that he was afraid to talk to his family about stuff. I already saw that he was hiding things from them, the things that he trauma dumped on me. And I just didn't want to cause him any more trouble or any more pain. Since clearly, he had a lot of that. Because to do something like what he did, it's more than just, oh, I got caught cheating. Like, that was the straw that broke the camel's back, but there was so much more than that. And I don't know if it was the day I found out or the day after. I think it was within the first week. I went to his place. Brian had his own place. It was right next to his family's place. I went there one day without the family knowing because I was so afraid to talk to them and see them. I thought they would hate me. And I just grabbed my stuff. I left the key to Brian's place that I had. I left a note by the ring I had bought him. I had bought his wedding ring already. And I said, like, donate this to the funds to fund his funeral and flying his body back home, El Salvador. And then when I left, I think I texted the uncle that I had done that, and he was like, hey, why didn't you stop by? I don't remember what I said, why I didn't stop by. Maybe I told him I felt uncomfortable, or I thought they were mad at me or something. And then, so then we had planned a day to actually see each other. I really wanted my mom there, so I got like a flower for his aunt, like an orchid and a candle and some other things. I went there, we visited very briefly. Well, I don't know how long the visit was, but you know, it was a very weird visit. I don't know what other word to use than weird, because what the hell? Like, none of us know what to do in that situation. I remember his grandparent, everyone's fucking crying, everyone's sad, everyone's shocked, no one knows what to say, no one knows what to do. We had some conversation about some of the logistics behind them finding him that morning after he had taken his life. The uncle had told me that one of the police officers asked if, when they were preparing his body for the funeral, if he would want to keep the bullet that took his life, which is fucking insane. I think he said no, like, why would I want to keep that? But during that visit, I think I hugged his grandma, and the grandma said, like, seeing me was like seeing her grandson, and that made her cry, which made me cry, and it all around was just devastating. We talked about the funeral. Eventually, the funeral was held. My friends showed up to support for that. Some family showed up to support for that. I'll never forget those things either. Thank you, anyone who attended or reached out and had kind words or showed support in any way. Like, you all have no idea how much that meant to me and still does. And I remember that. But the funeral was rough. And the aunt had given me the decision to have an open casket or not. And that's a huge decision to lay on a 21-year-old, or anyone for that matter. But my mom always says, like, you only regret what you didn't do, not what you did do. We could debate that, but ultimately decided, like, it would make it more real to me to see him dead and to see him one last time instead of not doing it. And then I would wonder forever, like, what did he look like? What was he wearing? You know? So I said, open it. I was so scared to look in there. I didn't really look in there until I went up to put my rose in his casket. And I also had wrote a note for him that I put in his casket. And I still have this note somewhere. Ugh. I also wrote something that I wanted to be read at his funeral. The uncle really wanted me to go up there and read it. My social anxiety could never, especially in this situation. So he ended up reading it. I think he butchered it a little bit, but I'm glad it was read. Very, very sad stuff. When I did put my rose in his casket, my dad, God bless him, me and my dad have our own issues, but he shows up when it matters most, and he was there that day. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know if my dad and my mom walked up with me, but I remember my dad walking up with me to put the rose in his casket. And first of all, I remember even before I walked up to the casket, I saw that he had a ball cap on, and dad told me all I needed to know. And that was like such a splintering pain in my heart. Words cannot describe what it feels like to see a ball cap on somebody who would never wear a hat, let alone a ball cap, in his casket. And also, Brian had beautiful brown skin. He's Latino, he's Salvadoran, but he was so pale. I don't remember if I touched his hand, but just seeing how stiff he was and how pale he was, and wearing the ball cap, and you could tell they put makeup on his face, and it was just awful. It was just awful. It's awful to think about. It's awful that I had to experience that. I think most of my tears now come from thinking about how horrible this was for past me to experience. Like I said, it will always be sad. The best thing I've ever seen that explains grief is that this is grief. It's big, it's loud, it's prominent in your life. There's no ignoring it. This never shrinks. This never goes away. But if this is grief, this is when it just happened. I just lost Brian. And this is your life. It just happened. It's taking up the whole of your life. And then 1 year goes by. It's still just as big, but it's a little further. Then another year, another year, another year, another year. Here I am at 5 years or whatever. And there's a lot more here for me to enjoy and feel happy about and move forward with. But this is just as big, and I never know when it's gonna hit me. And when it does, man, it does. That's why I felt like this was the right time to make this video, because it's been long enough. I've dealt with all the fucking emotions at this point, and I hold space for all of them. And you'll see me cry in this video, you'll see me giggle in this video, you'll see me smile, frown, shake my head, look irritated. Like, it's all there, it's all part of it. And that's life, and that's why it's always me. We make space for all these things. I make a video like this, and then I make a video screaming and running from Poppy Playtime, and then you see me playing The Witcher, and then you see me streaming and singing and dancing and whatever. Like, it's life. It's raw, it's real, it's fun, it's horrible. That's what it is. That's what it is, and I can't make it be anything else. I'm not just gonna show you certain parts of myself. I feel like that's doing myself a disservice, and it's encouraging others to do the same. Like, no, I only want to see one part of you. No, I want to see everything. Everything that you're willing to share, and I'm willing to share it all. I don't care. Hate me, love me, I am who I am. I've been through what I've been through, and I want to talk about it. So we're talking about it, and it feels good. Feels good to cry. I so rarely cry about this nowadays, but when I do, it just feels like I'm acknowledging a part of myself that is so often overlooked. And I don't want it to define me or be who I am, but it is a part of me, so it's nice to sit down and talk about it sometimes. But yeah, that was horrible, and I feel very bad for past me, and I feel very bad for current me for having these memories. But I guess it went as well as the day could go. I saw his friends that day. They told me how they carried their own guilt around what had happened. And I got a picture of Brian. I have since let go of these things, because with my last fiance, I felt like it was a new beginning and it's time to let go of more of this stuff. And I let go of a lot of the Brian things that I had held on to from after his passing, which is fine. I don't need physical things to remember, but that was a day, man. It's a day in my memory for sure. And after that, we had a lantern lighting for Brian. I don't know if it was that night or that week or when, but we had one at some point. It was kind of a flop because the wind wasn't really picking up the lanterns. I think some of them fell in the water. I think one lantern lit on fire because the fire inside, it was the thought that counts, and gathering with his friends and family. I found out more things through his friends that I didn't know about that were happening during the relationship, and nights where Brian would get blackout drunk and say vague stuff about his childhood and trauma there. It's a lot. And one of the bigger things that happened after his passing was also on his birthday in April. We did like a balloon releasing in honor of him, and that was great overall. I had a friend go with me to that too. But while we were there, one of his family members said he would have been 30, and this had confirmed that when I saw his ID that day and the birth date was different than what he had told me, that was the correct birth date. So he had lied to me about his age. So just bringing up a lot of stuff, like, damn, this man really played me. And honestly, did I get groomed? Let me know in the comments, because I was freshly 18, so I was an adult, but I was freshly 18 and this man lied to me about his age, and he like totally played me in every aspect of the word. And now I'm traumatized for life. Woohoo! God. But that's the majority of it. I was so desperate to know if Brian was okay and got what he wanted by doing what he did that I had talked to some psychics, I think 2, multiple times. One of them had said, oh, he read the letter you wrote for him, and she didn't know I put anything in his casket. Some would say she could guess that, but I choose to believe she knew somehow. And I guess he said he had appreciated the letter. And I guess after his passing, she was saying he was very triangulated, like, because it happened so quickly. You know, he's kind of stuck one foot here, one foot there. So I did some prayers for him to like completely cross over and like be released from guilt or anything holding him here. Because ultimately, again, making meaning of it, I'm like, he did it. I hope he got what he wanted. If it was to be free of pain and not have to think about anything here, like, then I hope that's what he got. I hope he's in heaven, chilling with Jesus, and not having to think about anything here that made him feel like he had to do that. But damn, self-exit is so messed up. The pain doesn't disappear. You just give it to everyone you leave behind. And that is so not cool. And if you're in pain, or if you're thinking about ending your life, or if you know someone that is thinking that way, get help. Get them help. Help them. Anything. Talk to them, listen to them, offer to listen to them. Let them know you're thinking about them. Like, ask them questions about it. Oftentimes, people in situations like that feel like a burden if they bring things up and they bite their tongue and stuff. And this brings me to a year after Brian's passing. I had dealt with my own suicidal ideation that entire year for obvious reasons. Losing someone in that way makes the idea of doing something like that much more tangible. I obviously knew about it before he did it, but I didn't have anyone in my life that did that until that point. And so losing literally the closest person to me at that time in that way made me feel like, oh, well, now he's transferred all his pain to me. He wasn't able to hold all the pain. He had to take his life to be rid of all the pain. So I should do the same thing, right? No, not right. So I did what I do best, and I found meaning in it. I was in school for psychology, and I made a Facebook post talking about the stigma behind mental health illness and suicide and suicidal ideation. And I opened up about how I had been feeling that year. I opened up about what Brian had done, how hard it was to talk about, but this led to a whole other bag of worms. I got a message from his uncle basically telling me to take the post down, and he was mad at me. And I was like, what? And then I got a message from Brian's mom in El Salvador, which was very hard to communicate with her because of the language barrier. I had to translate everything. She had to translate everything. It was great. But I guess his family had lied to her about how he had passed away. I think they just told her that he was in an accident because, again, like I said, very much a stigma in their culture overall. But I was not in on this. Okay? And even if I was, I don't know if I would have been cool with it. Maybe we could have had a conversation about it first. But for a whole year, they had been lying to her, and I don't know who else, about how he had passed away. And it just hadn't come up on my end yet. Because I assume everyone just knew. Like, we just tell the truth around here. So yeah, he was not very happy with me. I don't even think any of them were happy with me that I had said that. And then suddenly I became the enemy. And the uncle had messaged me really messed up shit about, like, you never knew him. It's not your place. Like, you don't know what we had to deal with before you came around. And, like, you only knew him for this long. You didn't know anything about him. And all I could think was, excuse me, sir, you're not even a blood relative. You married into the family. And now you want to act like you know him. You don't know shit. He didn't tell you guys anything because he was afraid of this exact kind of treatment. He told me that night things that you never knew about and probably still don't know about, that he dealt with from childhood. Fucked up shit that happened from childhood that he never felt like he could tell you, otherwise you would disown him. And now I see that you probably would have. Valid fear on his end. And now I'm dealing with that exact thing that he took his life to avoid. Like, what the actual F? This made me so mad and still makes me so mad. Because how are you going to tell me you don't know him? I know more about him in 3 years than you ever knew. But to tell me to not tell my story, oh, now I'm going to speak up. Now I'm going to speak up. And I'm going to leave my post. And my post is still up. But he's blocked. Because, okay, you don't have to read my story. You don't have to like my story, but it's my story. I understand that you're his family and you guys may not want to shit. But first of all, communicate that with me. And, like, you can't silence me from sharing my story. And I think it's what's best. From my perspective, it's what's best. I'm not being silenced. I'm telling my story so I don't do the same thing. I'm telling my story so other people don't feel as alone. I'm telling my story so that what Brian did has some good impact. It can help other people. We can break the stigma of mental health. People can feel comfortable to share their own stories because I'm sharing mine. So we're creating a space where it's safe to do these things. Like, I'm so sick and tired. And I did a whole presentation about this in college where we all know how the small talk goes in our society. Hey, how you doing? Good, how are you? Good, cool. What you been up to? Not much. What you been up to? Not much. And all this shit could be going on behind the scenes, but we don't talk about it. And I'm so tired of that. Let's tell each other life is fucked up. Then the other person will feel safe to be like, yeah, mine too. And you might see that as Debbie Downer, but, like, okay, then say you're not ready to talk about it or you don't want to talk about it. Like, everything is optional. I'm so tired of this fakey fake shit. And it didn't feel right for me, especially this month when I'm filming this, to film a Witcher video. Like, I love gaming and I love everything I've done on this channel and I love being silly and all this stuff, but I can only do that when I've acknowledged this shit. Your girl is very emotional and your girl has been through some shit, and this is not even the half of it. At one of my formational years of life, all this shit went down at the beginning of the fucking year. That's insane to me. I don't realize how insane this is until I talk about it out loud, till I share a story like this, or till I tell somebody new that I'm talking to, like, what's happened. They're like, what the fuck? Like, you've been through so much shit at such a young age. And this ain't even the half of it. Oh my god, I'm so sorry, Iggy. I'm always me. This is part of my life. I wanted to share this story. If you have any questions, I may or may not answer them down below, but ask me all the questions. I'm a fucking open book, and I feel like this shit needs to be talked about. I want to show everything. I want to help people. I want this to be a safe space. I want to be able to talk about mental health. I want to break the stigma around talking about mental health and talking about mental illness and talking about, addiction. I've dealt with that half of my family. I've dealt with so much shit. I've seen so much shit, and I know I don't have it nearly as bad as so many fucking people. But if I can share my story and help even one person, or even just help myself talking about it, like, why is that so bad? Honestly, I think the biggest motivator for me making this video today is remembering what that uncle said to me and try to get me to take my post down, and also lie about how my fiance, my lover of 3 years, my best fucking friend, lie about how he passed when he chose to die. He murdered himself. Like, that is so wild too. Like, so much of the anger I have felt, oh my god, I could get into the emotions so much, but so much of the anger I have felt is at Brian, not only for cheating, but for killing my best friend. He did it. It's like, your lover's murdered, but the murderer is your lover. Like, what the hell? Ooh, if Brian was here, I would be chewing his ass out. And I have, in spirit. I have gone off on this boy. What are you fucking thinking? Ugh. I dealt with so much guilt around his passing. I felt like if I just stayed with him, if I just didn't go through his phone, if I just called the cops, if I just called his family that night, but I've kind of given the nuance for all of that. I dealt with so much sadness. I got cheated on, I got played, I got drug around through the mud for 3 fucking years. This guy who didn't really fucking care about me. I don't think you treat someone you genuinely care about that way. I mean, he was mentally fucked up, but still. Like, that's really fucking sad and not fucking fair. I dealt with so much anger. This man cheated on me and killed my lover. Like, he took his life. He did not get rid of his pain. He just transferred it to all of us, and that's so not cool. Also, the whole way that this thing went down felt so fucking unfair, because how I thought that was gonna go was gonna be hard enough. Like, I found out, now I gotta grieve this relationship, and like, that's gonna be fucking hard. My longest relationship and first engagement, and like, it meant so much to me, and it still does. And it was gonna just be hard to go through a breakup. But then, as I'm mad and dealing with all those feelings that are already there, which is already enough to juggle, I find out he died, and now I gotta comfort his family. I was talking a lot to the mom in El Salvador, and I was talking a lot to all of them, and I was bringing them gifts, and I wanted to, make sure I was being a good, like, what was gonna be a daughter-in-law. And I gotta communicate what happened to my own family. I gotta communicate what happened to my own friends. I gotta go to therapy and talk about it. Like, it consumed my whole life. And I'm in the middle of school. I think I took like 1 week break from school, and then I went back. And shortly after Brian passed, I started seeing other people. And the judgment I got from some people about that is fucking insane. People love to stick their nose up your ass when they belong nowhere in your situation. Y'all have no place to speak unless you've been in my exact position. So no one has no place to speak about this. No one knew the mental hell I was going through. The one person I wanted to talk to is dead. Everyone else had their partner to sleep with at night and grieve about this. The uncle and the aunt, and it was just me alone in my room. I prayed so much. I prayed every night. I prayed the rosary, like, every night. I lit a candle, I sat down, I had this whole shrine I made with like pictures of Brian, pictures of us, like gifts and stuff, like things I had kept. And I would pray, I would talk to Brian, I would talk to God, I would pray for the strength to continue, I would pray for his family, I would pray for his friends, I would pray for everybody. And I do this behind closed doors, and I'm not even saying this to seem like I'm like the best fucking person. We all have our issues, but I'm just saying, like, so for those same people I was praying for to be like, oh, you never loved him, you moved on so fast. First of all, being with someone else doesn't mean you moved on. Being with someone else means you want to be with someone else, which I think is a valid thing to want to do when I was being cheated on the entire fucking relationship, basically. And now that my partner's fucking dead, why can I not be with someone else? And when I want to fucking die, why can I not want to talk to someone else who makes me feel good? Like, why can I not chase dopamine a little bit so I, like, don't kill myself? And it served its purpose. Those relationships served their fucking purpose. No one was being played. Ugh, that pissed me off so fucking bad. Don't tell me I never loved my fiance because I'm with someone else after he passed away. Like, what the actual F? There's so many feelings here. I'll be unraveling this for the rest of my life and maybe beyond. But I wanted to share this story. Maybe I'll talk about it more in the future. Maybe I won't. I probably will, though. It's part of my life. Maybe not to this extent, though. I want it to be established that my channel is a safe space for people to talk about how they feel, no matter how dark it is. This is a safe space. We can talk about these things here. We can also have fun and be silly and not talk about these things here. Depends on the day, depends on the moment, depends on the vibes, depends on what's needed at the time. And I hope by sharing my story that you all feel more comfortable to share your stories that you want to tell when you're ready to tell them. If you don't want to tell them and you're never ready, that's fine too. But today I felt like telling mine. So I hope it had some sort of positive impact on somebody, or, you know, at least gave insight more into me and my life, what I've gone through and why I am the way I am. I don't know, again, I don't know really why I felt called to do this, but I felt called to do it, and I'm trying to listen to my soul more this year. I've been watching a lot of Leo Skeppy. He makes videos like this, solo talks and advice and gossip and whatever you want to call it. But I want to do more of these style of videos. I like watching this stuff, so I want to do more of it. And I also want to continue to do the stuff I've been doing, the stuff that you all like seeing, which is my gaming videos and stuff. Yeah, it's always me, Cass. And I don't really know how to end a video like this, so I hope you got something positive from hearing my story, and I'll see you in the next video.